The top universities globally for producing the most employable graduates by the Times Higher Education UK. Yet another testimony to Amity's excellent placement record.
ये है सीक्रेट रेसिपी MDH का जीरा सिप जल जीरा मसाला। सिप सिप जीरा सिप MDH का जल जीरा सिप MDH का जल जीरा सिप।
Hi, good morning
Hi,
to
how are
you.
you?
Good evening from India. We have announcement of a trade deal, and
Yes.
you've seen both sides. Trump says that India has promised not to buy Russian oil, but Indian Prime Minister's response makes no such commitment. But Trump says I've reduced the tariffs to 18%, and then he says that besides everything else, Prime Minister Modi has also agreed to buy American, in addition to 300 billion in, 500 billion in some other purchases. Anyway, there's an existing agreement to buy 300 billion, so there's not much of a hard-coded commitment from the Indian side. So Trump is obviously using a lot of hyperbole, making some claims, but the good thing is there's an announcement of a deal. But there's more statements coming from Trump than from India, especially to Trump's statement that India has agreed to stop buying Russian oil. There's nothing official from the Indian side to that. How do you view these developments, Professor Sachs?
Well, basically, the United States is unstable and irresponsible, but backing down from the most outlandish actions of this government a few months ago. They made no sense. They antagonized India. They disrupted trade. And I think somebody finally explained to Trump that none of this was serving any American interests at all. And so Trump has backed down to an important extent. Everything about Trump and trade is erratic, not sensible, not accomplishing any U.S. goals, but better 18% tariffs than 50% tariffs or 500% tariffs. But I wouldn't take at face value any single statement by the U.S. government. I think everything is just complete improvisation, a lot of baloney, a lot of malarkey, but probably somebody has prevailed inside the White House to say why antagonize India.
So what did Trump or what did America gain in the last
Nothing.
4 months of putting
Nothing.
pressure on India?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Whatever is agreed today could have been agreed before. Nothing is gained. There's no pressure. India has U.S. has no leverage on India. So none of this is anything other than Trump's delusion that the U.S. is the be-all and end-all of the universe. And so his writ is the command for the whole world. But that's Trump's delusion, that the U.S. market is so big, so consequential, so important that he can get every other country to fall into line. But the U.S. market is not very important in this way. The main lesson of the last year is that despite all of the U.S. bluster, the world did just fine last year. It traded more with each other. India and China are in the process of restoring what will be the most important trade relations between the two giants. And in general, everybody is diversifying away from the United States, even Canada.
Pure Shahi Paneer Masala. Delicious, healthy, every day.
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
MDH की हल्दी मिर्ची धनिया करे कमाल, ये रंग दे, ये खुशबू दे, ये तीखा, ये कम पड़े, क्या निराला MDH मसाला।
This morning, Rahul Gandhi, leader of the opposition, created a ruckus and furor in the parliament. In response to the president's address, he insisted upon raising what he said were some issues of vital import to our national security. So what was he saying? He was trying to cite an article from the Caravan magazine, which in turn was quoting excerpts from General Narwane, the former army chief's unpublished memoirs. It may be recalled that the government had stopped General Narwane from publishing the book. As such, the authenticity of the excerpts cited in the Caravan magazine itself are open to question. But then let's try and take a deeper look at what is this bravura all about. So I have had a detailed look at the article in the Caravan magazine. I have no access to General Narwane's book or manuscript, but we had a look at the Caravan article in detail. So what does this article say? This article talks of the 2020 Chinese intrusions, which had culminated in the Galwan incident, in which 19 Indian soldiers had lost their lives. No weapons had been used, but the Chinese had laid an ambush with pointed stones, with baseball bats wrapped up with barbed wire and nails and studded with lethal handheld weapons. You see, 19 Indians had been killed, but in response our soldiers had given an excellent account of themselves in hand-to-hand combat. And it is said that 45, some claim up to 100 Chinese soldiers were killed, which they tried to hide by saying they had lost just 5 soldiers. The simple fact is that after this violent incident leading to 19 fatalities on the Indian side, we should have thrown the 1996 Peace and Tranquility Accord into the bloody dustbin. Dustbin. Because that accord says that you can't use your weapons. And then you have to get into unseeming boxing matches, kushti matches, karate, this thing, and then start using sticks and stones and all that primitive Stone Age weapons. But you can't open fire. Why not? Why can't you open fire? Because you are defending your territory. And if the other side has drawn blood, it is not just a matter of dhakka mukki now. Well, I think that any local commander is fully justified in giving his troops the right to open fire in self-defense. In self-defense. Now, what happened was that these orders, no clear-cut orders were given, and in fact,
what has worked in your country to make sure that we increase the number of people that have access to electricity? What has been the key policies that you think have proven to be working?
Well, the first policy that we have done is to have a cost-reflective tariff, so that our utility can expand. But that cost-reflective tariff is also meant to attract the private sector. And the private sector has come in heavily to invest in generation. Where we think we still need some more investment is in transmission and distribution. The infrastructure is needed there. We also have a rural electrification fund where we know that distributed energy, off-grid distribution and the power is through that rural electrification fund. So everybody who uses commercial electricity in Zimbabwe is charged 6% so that we can use that money to focus on the rural areas. Because the rural areas, while the country is electrified 62%, but the rural areas are still at 27%. And we need to increase the connections there. Of course, we also are using our clean energy strategy to assist in the rural areas and in the urban areas to supplement the electricity. We have said, let's look at electricity as an enabler, particularly for the young. And all our schools, we want by this year, all the schools to be electrified, all the clinics to be electrified, so that we don't leave anyone in no place behind. It's crucial that all the children, especially in this digital world, are given an opportunity to have electricity so that they can go into the digital world. So these are the strategies that we are using, but the policies that we have now put in our compact energy compact, has 5 pillars. All of those are aimed at increasing access, at increasing security, and also affordability.
We made, as the world, big progress in increasing the access to electricity over the last few decades, but it feels, looking at some of the numbers, that we are struggling to kind of reach that last 700 million people, and that in percentage terms, we have been flatlining around 10% of the world's population without electricity for the last few years, and that number doesn't seem to come down. It's just as simple as the last bit of the effort is the most difficult one, or do you think that something has changed that is just going to make more difficult to resolve completely the problem?
Well, I think you're right. I think we have had the low-hanging fruits picked up, and now we are having the difficult part to reach the more difficult areas. I think it needs more efforts from everybody, whether it's countries, whether it's multilateral institutions, and whether it's investors. We need more partnership between public and private partnership in order to achieve the objectives. Today and this morning in the inaugural session, we talked about the energy trilemma. We talked about, energy security, energy affordability and access, and also sustainability. And one important element in order to achieve access and to achieve affordability is to have data. And data is very important for decision. It enables investors to know that there are opportunities. And in the absence of data, that hinders progress and hinders investors to reach the areas that need the energy most. I think we talked about the International Energy Forum as the custodian of the Joint Organization Data Initiative, and we collect data at the moment on oil and gas, and we have been doing this for oil more than 20 years and about 11 years for gas, but we are also expanding it to other areas of sustainability metrics and maybe even critical minerals. But we do have difficulties and we face challenges to collect data. Although we work with international partners like the UN statistical divisions, Eurostat, IEA, OPEC, and APEC in the Asia Pacific and others, and we're trying to explore to get more partners in order to improve the quality of data and the completeness and the accuracy of data, because we use country official data for reporting on oil and gas at the moment. And the difficulties we have, OECD countries, we get much better data and more accurate data, but we do have difficulties with developing world. So I think it needs more attention to provide the data. So, analysts and investors can have access to the data so they can establish the opportunities to increase, the access to energy.
Mr. Hydra, a lot of the problem with cooking fuels is going to need support from the West, and your country has been doing a lot of very good work in that area as a major donor. From your perspective, what is working? What has been a bit of a disappointment, and where do you see? What do you see we need to do next in terms of, from a donor country, in terms that we help that 2.1 to 2.4 billion people that still lack access to modern cooking fuels?
Thank you very much. Indeed, a very good question. And if I would summarize it in one line, it would be work with local populations, work with local communities. We've been a donor or clean cooking solutions for the last decade, together with the World Bank, with other partners. And sometimes we've given gas cooking sets to local communities for free. And then we came back a year later and we found out that they were not used simply because the gas was unable to reach the location, or it was simply too expensive because people didn't have $50 a year to spend on these advanced cooking fuels. So the minister from Zimbabwe gave a great example where in local communities, when there's manure, when there's cow dung, you can use something that is already locally available to upgrade it into a clean cooking fuel and work with the communities, and then it works two ways. So what we have learned is not focus on a single source, always do a multi-fuel, multi-source approach, work with the local communities, see what they need, understand the dynamics of the local markets, understand what people can afford, and with that, a solution in India might be completely different from a solution in Africa. In the long run, by getting some of the data better, of course, and sharing those experiences, we can make the next step. And it is still, that's also what the data tells us, one of the cheapest way to bring prosperity to different regions. It's not required hundreds of billions. No, it's far smaller amounts to have access to clean cooking around the globe. And the good thing about it is the IEF was already referring to the partners with which they cooperate. Even the IEA made now a clean cooking scenario for the world. Yeah. And some people were worried about maybe this is more emissions, but no, in the IEA scenario, one of the best ways to reduce emissions on the globe, also from the global south, is to switch to those modern clean cooking fuels. So for health, for the environment, for everything, it is paramount that we learn the best practices from each other and continue the revolution of clean cooking.
So I have a fantastic panel with me. I don't need to introduce any of them. You can see who they are. And of course, I'm going to start with Chairman Singh. And we've got William from BP and we've got Haitham from Arnab as well. Welcome to all of you. Chairman Singh, I am going to start with you. Firstly, because we are in India. And ONGC is doing some absolutely fantastic things in terms of upstream and exploration. Just tell us a little bit about what are the really exciting projects that ONGC is working on. How do you see the future of oil and gas and the need for keeping investment going?
Thank you, Dr. Sen. And good question. And a very linear answer, not complex answer. Because for us, our import dependence figure of oil. For us, whether if it is oil is on Himalayas or on the Everest, if it comes to us through some means, we would welcome it. And basically from energy security point of view, because we can't afford to have the current state continue for long. So exploration, as you see, world over also, NOCs are exploring more. IOCs have enough reserve to develop. So their priority could be development, but NOCs all over the world is kicking very strong on exploration side. So far India is concerned, because in the context of energy security and the fact that we have large sedimentary basin, and out of 3.3 we have roughly 1.7 odd is offshore, and out of 1.7 million square kilometer, roughly 1.32 is around deep water. And out of 1.32, 1 million square kilometer was no-go. So what we explored in deep water is, you can say, which was no-go area. ONGC has spent and made large efforts to explore deep water. One big campaign came in 2003 to 7. That was known as Sagar Samriddhi. And today you heard Prime Minister saying about Samudra Manthan. ONGC has drilled so far 150 deep water wells. It's not a small number. And 41 developmental wells. So ONGC has drilled roughly 200 wells in deep water. Out of these 90, out of 150, I'm talking about exploratory wells. Roughly 90 were drilled in KG. KG is, for every one of us, including Williams Company, is now Category 1 basin. What matters most for us today is to explore deep water as much as we can, because onshore, I'm not too sure that, I'm sure that we have explored. We have been exploring from 1960, ONGC. Last 65 years it has explored. What was completely out of bounds, what I mentioned to you. So, our first primary responsibility towards nation, because being a government company, is to explore deep water and then come to conclusion that this way or that way. And that exploration responsibility is on us, and hopefully the resources of country will come together to pull it through. If ONGC can do it, well and good. If it can't, I'm sure the other forces of nature, including government, will come to our rescue. They will not allow us to die. So this much we know.
Haitham, if I can ask you about ADNOC, because as Chairman Singh said, NOCs have really, especially the last few years when IOCs were under, I should say IECs, I'm always corrected when I say IOCs, they were under a lot of shareholder pressure to kind of do more on the transition side of things. It was NOCs that really stepped up, and they were really taking the frontier for oil and gas in particular. And ADNOC's, obviously with Exergy, you've kind of really grown that as well. How do you agree with what I was saying and what William said as well in terms of how the energy mix is playing out, and how is ADNOC positioning itself, especially given all the volatility that you see as well?
Maybe first and foremost, I want to as well commend ONGC on the fantastic achievement. I echo William here. I think I come from an ADIPEC environment as technical chair, and I think I see a lot of potential here with the sheer volume, sheer mass, and good quality presentations arranged. So all the best, and I think the future is yours. On the volatility, market volatility issue, I think maybe short-term volatility is clear. However, I want to echo what His Excellency Dr. Sultan in the opening mentioned. Long-term demand is evident, is obvious. Urban developments, aviation doubling in size, data centers, AI data centers, and demand requirements. On data centers specifically, projections say the power requirements for data centers in 2030 would equate to about 150 gigawatts and double that by 2040. To put things into perspective, 150 gigawatts is just about the power capacity of France. That is significant. That's just one wedge of demand centers that are coming up in the demographics. So having that mentioned, long-term demand is clear. 700 million people around the globe today have lack of access of a reliable energy source. So we have no doubt that the demand will grow for oil and gas within that energy mix. But yes, again, to provide reliable, low-cost, low-carbon emission solutions, I think investment is required, not just only in oil and gas, but in all forms of energy. And here is where we're seeking, our support of our partners. XRG is, for example, one initiative towards investing into renewable, low-carbon solutions across the board. With that demand in play, I think, so for ADNOC, for instance, our capital program is about, and this was mentioned by Dr. Sultan as well earlier today, is about $150 billion over the next 5 years. That is huge. However, demand outlooks stand strong at 100 million barrels globally from now until 2040. And to suffice that demand, the existing infrastructure today, including the investments we have at an upstream level, are unfortunately not enough. I think we need to maximize our efforts into investing into oil and gas infrastructure, oil and gas upstream infrastructure, and make sure we're ready so when time comes, we're able to provide that low carbon, low cost, highly reliable barrel that suffices that demand. So in short, I think we're set to that plans as ADNOC, and I think we are seeking our partners' support as well to.
And it's the same question to everyone. If there was one change or one thing that you wanted that could change in the entire Indian upstream space, which could really help unlock the sector, what would that be? And a 10-second answer, please, from everyone.
I'll take a little bit of proactive approach from the service company perspective. I would say it's our procurement process, right? The lowest cost bidder wins, right? I think the deep water has its unique complexity. We need technology. We need the world-class player to come in and drill the wells efficiently, safely. So procurement.
Procurement.
To reward the performance.
Yeah. What about you?
I'm just going to stay with stable, attractive fiscal policy. I think that gives us confidence that we can invest in and made some great changes. Let's just deliver on it.
Thanks, Wayne. Rakesh?
I think what we need is a coordinated partnership between the industry and the government. Basically, it's a 20-year term that we are talking about to basically make things happen. So it's not 1 or 2 days. So it should be a coordinated effort between the government from the regulatory point of view and the industry from the capital and commitment point of view and even capability point of view.
Great. Thank you.
Well, like the government sponsored the National Seismic Program by covering as much area of the country as possible with seismic, so that's the basic start for exploration. I think there is already a plan for 4 stratigraphic wells. I personally believe deep and ultra-deep waters are still uncharted territories, unknown. We need more stratigraphic wells sponsored by the government.
Done.
I think for me, procurement, yes, absolutely, but I think there's also that this real openness, transparency to new business models, and then how can we transfer knowledge easier from outside to inside? So, how do we, just a really boring one, taxation on expatriates. I think there's a real thing there we can do to really transfer knowledge into India quickly and get down the learning curve, inorganically rather than organically.
From your vantage point, since you've been in this business, what has not changed? While we talk about change, we're talking about disruption, but if there's something that has not changed so far, what would that be?
What can be always sustainable, it's the law of the supply-demand and the balance of what can be produced and what can be consumed. What you need to do nowadays is to benefit from this moving environment, either the threats or the news, to get more resilience and to gain in resilience through, again, from a trading perspective, through optionality. But what will remain is the rationale of this supply-demand balance. That's the reason why we were talking about the new flow coming on the market. I think in this energy transition period, which is ours, we will have more volume, so it will be for the benefits of an LNG commodity that will become more affordable, cleaner, affordable, sustainable, for the benefit of the end users more than ever in India.
दादी के हाथों का जादू और खुशबू से महकता घर, माँ की मुस्कुराहट और खाने की सुगंध। MDH गरम मसाला,
क्योंकि हर रिश्ता है स्वाद से जुड़ा। इसको घर पे लगाओगे तो शादी का तो पता नहीं, पर घर पक्का नहीं टूटेगा।
रुंगटा नहीं तो घर स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं। रुंगटा स्टील TMT बार एकदम सॉलिड।
पहाड़ों में एक हाइकिंग शिप भी बन सकती है।
प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो, मिलाओ और खाओ,
8 मिनट में तैयार।
क्या टेस्ट है, सबका राजा आर मसाला।
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
MDH की देगी मिर्च,
देगी मिर्च का तड़का, अंग अंग फड़का।
MDH की देगी मिर्च।
Hi, good morning
Hi, how
to
are
you.
you?
Good evening from India. We have announcement of a trade deal, and
Yes.
you've seen both sides. Trump says that India has promised not to buy Russian oil, but Indian Prime Minister's response makes no such commitment. But Trump says I've reduced the tariffs to 18%, and then he says that besides everything else, Prime Minister Modi has also agreed to buy American, in addition to 300 billion in, 500 billion in some other purchases. Anyway, there's an existing agreement to buy 300 billion, so there's not much of a hard-coded commitment from the Indian side. So Trump is obviously using a lot of hyperbole, making some claims, but the good thing is there's an announcement of a deal. But there's more statements coming from Trump than from India, especially to Trump's statement that India has agreed to stop buying Russian oil. There's nothing official from the Indian side to that. How do you view these developments, Professor Sachs?
Well, basically, the United States is unstable and irresponsible, but backing down from the most outlandish actions of this government a few months ago. They made no sense. They antagonized India. They disrupted trade. And I think somebody finally explained to Trump that none of this was serving any American interests at all. And so Trump has backed down to an important extent. Everything about Trump and trade is erratic, not sensible, not accomplishing any U.S. goals, but better 18% tariffs than 50% tariffs or 500% tariffs. But I wouldn't take at face value any single statement by the U.S. government. I think everything is just complete improvisation, a lot of baloney, a lot of malarkey, but probably somebody has prevailed inside the White House to say, why antagonize India?
So, what did Trump or what did America gain?
The warmth of your greetings reflects the beautiful diversity of our shared culture. First of all, I thank my dear friend, Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim, for joining this community celebration. I also thank him for his very kind words on the scale and future potential India-Malaysia friendship in his speech just now. Not just that, he came to the airport to welcome me. And he brought me here in his car. Not only his car, but his seat also. These special gestures reflect his love and respect for India and for all of you. I'm grateful for your warm words, hospitality, and friendship. Friends, we have just seen our record-setting cultural performance. More than 800 dancers in perfect harmony. This performance will be remembered by our people for years to come. I congratulate you. I congratulate all the performers, friends. Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim and I have been friends even before he became Prime Minister. I commend his focus on reforms, his great intellect and able chairmanship of the ASEAN in 2025. Last year, I could not visit Malaysia for the ASEAN summit, but I promised my friend that I will come to Malaysia soon. And as promised, I'm here. This is my first foreign visit in 2026. I'm delighted to be with you during these festive times. I hope everyone celebrated Sankranti, Pongal, and Thaipusam with great joy. Soon, the festival of Shivratri is coming. In a few days, Ramzan begins, and then Hari Raya will be celebrated with great devotion. I wish everyone happiness and good health. Friends, Malaysia has the second largest Indian origin community in the world. There is so much that connects Indian and Malaysian hearts. The exhibition that Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim and I saw a short while ago shows this connection beautifully. You are living bridge that links us. You have connected roti canai with the Malabar parota, coconut, spices, and of course, teh tarik. The flavors feel so familiar, whether it is in Kuala Lumpur or Kochi. We understand each other so well. It must be due to the large number of common words between our languages and Malay. I've heard that Indian movies and music are popular in Malaysia. You all know that Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim sings very well. But many Indians back home did not know it. During his last visit, they were pleasantly surprised. Videos of him singing an old Hindi song in India went viral. It is wonderful that he also loves Tamil songs of the legendary MGR. Friends, I know that India has a special place in your hearts. I remember very clearly an instance from 2001 when there was an earthquake in my home state of Gujarat. Many of you came together to help. I thank you all. And even long before that, to make India a free country, thousands of your ancestors made great sacrifices. Many of them had never seen India, but they were among the first to join Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, Indian National Army. In his honor, we renamed the Indian Cultural Center in Malaysia after Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. I also take this moment to salute the efforts of the Netaji Service Center and Netaji Welfare Foundation in Malaysia. Friends, it is remarkable the way you have preserved traditions over centuries. Recently, I spoke in my monthly radio conversation, Man Ki Baat,